Hey, today I want to talk about rewriting stories, rewriting the stories that you tell about yourself, which sounds maybe a bit like not tangible, but let me explain what I mean by that. So a lot of the times in the people that I work with, and especially in myself, and I'm really lucky, I have people that will call me out on it and be like, yeah, do you want to keep thinking that? And that prompts me to change my behavior. We keep telling ourselves these stories that hold us back or just keep us where we are. And the one thing that I've realized is that it's totally okay to have those stories, right? Like a lot of the time, our actions and our words don't line up. And there's so much drama and stress and feeling guilty that comes with that because we're not closing that gap. So what I've tried to do now is, instead of having 1,000 things that I say, oh, I should do this, I want to do this, oh, I really should do that, but I actually just decide if it's something that I want to prioritize right now. And if it's not, I just let myself carry on. So one example is with eating chocolate every day. I had this feeling that I should eat less chocolate, and I kept on craving it, wanting it. And I'm not saying that's true, but that was my belief, right? That was in my brain. I kept on making myself feel guilty that I shouldn't want this, I should have better discipline, I should be different, act different. And when it came down to it, I just decided, like, it's not a priority. I don't care enough to change it right now. And since I've let myself release that, I don't feel so guilty about it. And what that does is it lets me save that energy that I would spend stressing and feeling bad about myself. And it feels more empowering because I can spend my energy and my time, this hair's crazy, I can spend my energy and the time on things that I have identified that I want to change. So that brings me on to what I am changing and rewriting the stories. One story that I have, which is one that I'm trying to work on, is that I'm not consistent. I'm not consistent. This has been for years. I've written emails about this. I've written all sorts of content about this. It's like, I'm not consistent. I don't stick to things. And especially with like taking care of myself, I'm like, I don't prioritize myself, right? So this is something I see coming up in other people as well. And I received an email from a consultation, like someone that I'm just talking to just decide if we can work together. And he said, like, amongst family, home life, work, he works shifts, like, it just doesn't feel like there's time to train. And I know he's really motivated, I know he really wants it. And I hear this story a lot, right? I hear it from myself, I hear it from a lot of people. It's this idea that, like, this thing you want to do is so big and we keep trying to shoot so high for this big goal, even if that big goal is 1 hour workout at the gym, like 3 days a week. It might not seem like that's a big goal because there's that idea that we should be able to do it easily, we should be able to just start doing that. But actually, if you break it down and you realize that you've been consistently not meeting that expectation for yourself, it is a big goal and it is a long way off. So the way that I am starting to look at this idea of rewriting the stories that we tell ourselves is, first you need to decide that you want to change it. If you want to change it, then we go on to the next step. If you don't want to change it, like, release that guilt from yourself, and that's so powerful. And the second thing then is, set yourself a realistic expectation, and probably after that expectation is set, probably take it down a peg, right? So and again, because my brain's going all over the place, I actually think prioritizing just that one thing, like, if this is your priority, it comes above everything else. So my way of changing this consistency story for myself is going for a cold dip in this river every day. And I think I'm going to run this for like 30 days and see how I go. I don't know. But I have decided that this is what I'm committing to, and it's a priority. It comes before exercise. It comes before doing extra work or extra projects or filming YouTube videos. And I hit that every day, and I have done for about 6 days now. And that feels like quite radical, because it feels crazy to take an hour out of my day to come down to the river and go in when I feel like I have a million other things to do. Now, I have shifted stuff around in my life to give me that time. I do feel privileged to be able to have the mental space to realise this is what I want to do. And I wasn't always like in the sunshine on a Friday morning, like chilling and going in the river. That's not how I've been for the last few years, but it's how I want to be. So I'm going to try and rewrite that story of I'm not consistent. I'm not expecting myself to be consistent with exercising, with anything else. I'm just starting with this. And aside from that massive tangent I went on, what I've realised is that I'll still get here and I won't want to do it, and I'll be like, and I'll find a way out, and I'll start thinking, and it's my expectation of myself is get in and do 10 breaths in the water. That's my expectation, and it will still take me, that takes probably like 1 minute to do. It still takes me like half an hour to get around to do it, and it might take me half an hour to summon the energy to get down here and to even be in the place where I can do it. So all of those, like, you know, all of that effort is new. It's not just that 2 minute dip. It's the half an hour thinking, 10 minutes organising myself, figuring out where it's going to go in my schedule, like thinking about having time to shower when I've got home. Like, there's so much that goes into it. So don't think that it's nothing, because it really isn't nothing. If you're trying to start a new habit, if you're trying to start a new way of being, of doing things, and you're trying to prove to yourself that you are consistent, or whatever story that you have that's holding you back. Maybe the story is like, I don't know, I'm a really anxious person, which is another story that, that I'm rewriting. But it's not that you're all going to have the same story as me. And over our lifetimes, over our life, we're going to have different little blocks that hold us back. And once you realise that, or once someone else helps you realise that, maybe you like read a book, or you read a piece of content, or someone points it out to you, once you realise that, you can decide then what you want to do with it, and you're kind of going left or right. And it's just making sure that you're aligned with what you decide to do. And so once you've got that, you've isolated it, and you've decided that you're going after it, then it's tough. It really is tough, right? You're going to have days when you're just like wanting to slip back to how you were before, and you just want to not do it, or you just want to not stick to it, or you just want to keep thinking in the old patterns that you were thinking in, or things like that. And that's okay, but it's just recognizing that it's a new way to do things, and also giving yourself the credit that it's not an easy thing, but you can do it. The other thing I wanted to say on this is that it helps to know why you're doing it. So the reason that I'm going down here to show myself that I am consistent and that I can be consistent is firstly because I know that this is a reliable way for me to feel more present and less anxious, and less thinking about the future, and less worrying about things, and less feeling like threatened when something mildly difficult comes up in my life, like a difficult conversation, or maybe I feel overwhelmed with work or something like that. So that's a whole different subject that we can go into another time, with how you can manage those feelings of overwhelm, and how you can start to let your body help your mind to feel a bit better, at least from what I've experienced. But the whole thing is, when I'm, and you're probably going to see it in a minute, when I stood there in the water and my hair, and I'm thinking of all the reasons, like, oh, I'm just going to go home, or I just feel uncomfortable. That's the process. It's that small action that I've committed to is the uncomfortable thing. And trust me, even if you're doing something that you think is minuscule, you will find ways to see where your tendencies to squirm out of it and stop going for it, and where you bail out, right? So I know that I'm just gonna get in there, and even though right now I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go in, it's gonna take 2 seconds, and it's gonna be easy, the reality is I'll get in there and I'll squirm about, and I'll figure out then what the reasons are for me not doing it. So before, and like in other situations, like let's say I wanted to start doing some work, and I'd be thinking like, oh no, I need to do this, I need to clean the house, I need to, oh no, I don't have time. All these things come up, and I'm spending half an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours stressing. What I'm trying to do here is go back to, why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I know that for me, this helps me to feel present and to feel better. And I really, really want that. I want to teach myself that I can help myself come out of that anxiety. And in doing so, I'm showing that I'm consistent. I'm showing that I show up for myself. So all that to say, if you know why, and I would literally say that to myself, I'd be like, I'm doing this for this reason. I'm doing this because I want the outcome of this. I'm doing this, and I keep saying it until I just decide to do it. And it's worked so far. And I touched on this just a second ago a little bit, but what this consistency allows you to do is observe the process. So I've been bringing my little journal down and I've been writing down what comes up, like what are the ways that I try and get out of it? Like, how does that make me feel? Like, what is it that stops me, that keeps me in this like entrapment of the same routines and the same things? And there's no rules on what this is. Like, you might be someone that thinks one thing and it comes up and then that helps you. You might be someone that takes a while to figure it out. You might be someone that doesn't feel anything. You might be someone that feels super emotional, starts crying and gets angry and like needs to write pages and pages. Like, there's no set way to do it. But if you can commit to that one thing you're trying to do, let's say you're trying to cook healthy, you're trying to cook healthy. What are the things that come up that stop you? Because if you do that for 2 days and then you go to something else for 2 days and then you do something else for 2 days, you have loads of guilt. You're pushing your trust in yourself down because you're not committing to it. And you're not learning anything about the process. So the idea is to feel the resistance and be like, oh, that's uncomfortable. And then be like, what is this resistance actually about? Like, what is it? And observe that, and hopefully you can work with that. So I'm going to recap looking at my notebook, because otherwise I will probably ramble. We're going to decide if this is something that we want to go towards, and if not, release the guilt, and if it is, go for it full force. You're going to start frustratingly small. Like, you're going to start with something that you feel like is easy, because we want those easy wins. You're going to know why you're doing it, and if you don't know why, dig a little bit and see if there's a reason why, because this is what you're going to come back to when you're going to get resistance. And you will get resistance if this is something new you're trying to bring into your life. The other thing is, it helps to just have one thing that you're prioritizing. So let's say you have a handful of things that are on autopilot. You brush your teeth, you go to work, you take care of the kids, whatever. Things that are not going to change in your life. You're not adding go for a walk every day, go for a swim every day, work out 4 times, but you're not adding it all at once. You're adding one thing, and that comes above all of those other things that you might feel like you should be doing or that you want to be doing. You're going to observe the process, and you're going to see what comes up for you, and you're going to be using the days before. So once you're on a roll of a few days, you're going to build that evidence and show yourself that the story that you used to have isn't true anymore, or it's becoming untrue. So it's one thing to have affirmations and to say like, I am a successful person, I like myself. I listened to like these weird books when I was younger, and they were like, they kind of just didn't work for me, because I was just like, but I'm not a good person. Right, so you've got to show yourself with actions that these commitments that you've made to yourself are true, because you're smart. You're not going to just believe something without seeing it. So it's hard at first, but once you have some evidence to show that you are lining up what you say you're going to do with what you're going to do, you're lining up your actions with the identity you want to have, that is so empowering, and you're going to start to build that trust in yourself. And I think that's it. So I better go get in there.